This is my review of the Beach Boys album, MIU album, released in 1978, produced by Al Jardine and Ron Altbach. I think this. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. I'm not sure. Anyway, I'll just call him like Ron the producer or something from now on when I talk about him. Anyway, this album is I originally got this on the Two for album with LA album, but somebody stole that one out of my car, so I bought it on vinyl not too long ago. This is actually a really unpopular album. I remember reading when I was getting into the band and buying all their albums, I was reading reviews of them, and this album in particular I think was criticized pretty heavily in like every review I read. I kind of disagree with that though. The album, from what I understand of the band at this time, was released during like a really bad time in the band's history. They were kind of fighting, like there were like two different factions in the band at that point, like Dennis and Carl on one side and Al and Mike on the other, and Brian was kind of in the middle, and they were like fighting over creative control of the band. And this is kind of the Mike and Al album. It's like mostly Mike, Al, and Brian. Dennis and Carl are kind of barely on here, which kind of would have made me think that I wouldn't like this one. And this was, of the two albums that were on the same CD, this is the one I liked less, but I still like it a lot more than most people. Definitely think that it's kind of an underrated album. I think that it might be a little bit misunderstood because of all the stuff that's going on around it. Maybe I don't know, like the production kind of doesn't help it, and there are some kind of weaker moments on it. But they recorded this album at, I think was it Maharishi International University, I think, which is why it has the strange title, the MIU album. I think it might have been kind of a contractual obligation record, because I think like I can't remember what label they were on. I think it was Reprise or something, and they were getting ready to leave them. And they'd had an album before this where like Brian was working on another album that was kind of like Love You, that was going to be called Adult Child, and it was one of those really weird Brian albums again. And since I think like Love You didn't sell, Mike and Al were basically like, no, that stuff's not going to sell, so we're going to go make something that will sell. Well, I don't think this sold either, so good job, guys. But anyway, yeah, a lot of people hate this album. I think that it's definitely not like their strongest album, but I think it's a little bit better than what people say, or actually like kind of a lot better than what people say. Sorry, I'm rambling. The first song, She's Got Rhythm, sung by Brian, Mike, and Ron the producer, and it's got Brian doing his falsetto voice again, which it does sound a little bit like not exactly like it did when he was younger on here, but it's still kind of cool, and I think it's a fun opening track. It's got kind of just cool parts. Like I like the way the song kind of changes between the Brian sung parts and the Mike sung parts. It's just a cool song. And the second song, Come Go With Me, it's a cover song sung by Al. It was on the Greatest Hits CD that I first got of the Beach Boys, and it wasn't one of the songs that I like got really into at first, but eventually as I was listening to more and more of the album, because I kind of getting tired of the songs that I listened to at first, I kind of discovered it and got really into it. Sorry, but yeah, I kind of discovered it and got really into it, and I remember specifically kind of like riding around in my aunt's car, driving around Utah on vacation, listening to it, kind of looking at the mountains and stuff. So maybe it's a little bit of a nostalgia thing that I like it, but yeah, I think it's a pretty cool song, good cover. Not really familiar with the original version of it though, but I like this version. the third song, "Hey Little Tomboy," this is a song that was apparently supposed to be, I think, on the Adult Child album, which I can't really understand why they picked this of the songs to put on here. But like if they thought that like album as a whole was weird, and this was the song that they thought wasn't weird, I don't know exactly what Mike and Al were thinking with that choice, but it's which I guess like I'm not super familiar with all the Adult Child stuff. I'm kind of getting off on a tangent here, but it is like there's kind of like versions of it or what might have been on it or whatever on YouTube, and I have listened to it a couple times, but yeah, I don't know. This song definitely one of the weirder choices they could have picked from the stuff on there. I think, like, I don't know, I would have went for like "Life Is for the Living." But anyway, yeah, the lyrics on this song are pretty terrible. They're just weird on a lot of levels. Thing is about the rest of the song, though, honestly, like, it's got a good vocal melody if you disregard the lyrics, and it's got kind of like a good sounding instrumental backing track, and then like, I don't know, like musically, I enjoy the song. I don't like the lyrics, but musically, I think it's cool. And I don't know, I just have it of like, when I listen to albums, I always like kind of sing along with the songs and stuff. This song I never actually like really do. And I always, when my cat died, unfortunately, but when I had a cat, I used to like sing to the cat to, I don't know if she liked it or it annoyed her, probably annoyed her, but I thought it was fun. And so a lot of times I would just kind of start saying like meow instead of the lyrics of the song, and this was a good song to do that to. You know, I just say meow instead of the words, and no, I'm not going to do that on camera, but anyway. The fourth song, Kona Coast, a song by Al and Mike. I could see people having a problem with this song because it kind of, like, some people would say rips off Hawaii, their earlier song, but I think of it more in like a paying tribute to it sort of way. I don't know, I like the song. I think it's catchy, I think it's a good song. Even though it kind of references Hawaii, I don't really have a problem with that. I think that's like far back enough in their career at this point that it's okay for them to reference it or whatever. I don't know. I don't understand why somebody would really like have a problem with the kind of this era of, because I get that it's a little disappointing that the band they were doing new things and kind of moving forward and stuff with Love You, and then with this it's kind of a step back and like them trying to get, you know, back to like, oh, singing songs about, you know, girls and surfing and stuff like that, you know, like in the early 60s, but they had already kind of done this with like Do It Again, and people like that, so I don't really see where this is that much different other than maybe kind of weaker production style maybe, and not some other things, but it's, to me it's kind of like the same kind of thing, and I think that they pull it off, you know, successfully in both cases. The fifth song, Peggy Sue, a cover sung by Al. Not my favorite track on the album, but I think it's interesting. It's kind of an interesting arrangement of the song, at least. And I don't know, it's just not, that's not my favorite Buddy Holly song. Is probably, like, it's not anything wrong with the cover or anything like that, but it's just kind of not even my favorite Buddy Holly song, which I do like Buddy Holly a lot, but it's not one of my top songs of his. The sixth song, Won't You Come Out Tonight, a song by Brian and Mike. This is actually probably my favorite song on the album. It took me a while to get into. It wasn't one that I even like listened to a lot at first. I kind of remember when I realized I like it a lot, and it's kind of I don't know, I find it really, like, I think it's like a really catchy song for some reason. I really like the background vocal parts, and it's kind of like what I was saying with the Kona Coast song. It's a song that reminds me of like the Do It Again thing. It's kind of like one of their earlier songs from the 60s, but it's done in kind of this like newer style, and I think it, you know, for me it works. Like I get why some people might not like it, but I think it works. The seventh song, Sweet Sunday Kind of Love. Another song by Brian and Mike. This is the only song with a Carl lead vocal, and it's kind of one that I didn't pay attention to for a while. I thought it was kind of boring, but it's kind of grown on me as this nice, like, pretty song, and it's definitely helped out by Carl's vocal. I think he was a really good vocal. It's a shame it's the only lead vocal he has on the album. The eighth song, Bells of Paris, another Brian and Mike song. This one's sung by Mike. I remember the first review I read of this, the guy, I can't remember how to say his last name, or what his last name is. His first name's like George something. He's a Russian fellow, has a reviewing website online. And I read all his reviews before buying the albums. And he singled this song out as like the worst song on the album. And I can kind of see why some people would say that. I don't mind it. I think it's kind of nice. Just kind of a nice, like, peaceful, relaxing atmosphere type of song. Mike's vocal is maybe a little cheesy. I think to some people would say that, especially when he kind of does the French accent bits. And I think there's some parts where he sings in French. And I could see people seeing that as a little bit cheesy and not liking it. But I don't. To me, it doesn't really bother me. I think it's just kind of a nice, relaxing song. Which overall, I think the second half of this album just has that kind of nice, has a nice kind of like chill vibe to it. The ninth song, Pitter Patter, Brian, Mike, and Al song, sung by Mike and Al. Another one that I think is really good, but it took me a while to get into. This I actually think the guy that reviewed it said was the best song on the album. In the review I was reading, I was talking about before. I don't think it's the best song on the album, but I do think it's really good. And then the 10th song, My Diane, sung by Brian, sung by Dennis. This is another song that, like, I could see some people. I think it's one of the best songs on the album. It's one of my favorite songs. I could see some people not liking it because of Dennis's vocal, actually, but that to me is what makes the song. At this point, his voice is a lot rougher, and so if you don't like really scratchy, kind of rough vocals, you probably won't like it. But I think he gives a really strong vocal here, just really emotional, and you can really just feel it, like, especially with the lyrics. Just a really beautiful song. The 11th song, Match Point of Our Love, is a Brian and Mike song, sung by Brian. I used to think it was Carl singing for some reason. But this song, like, lyrically, it's so dumb that it's actually kind of funny. It's like something about tennis. I feel like the whole song is like kind of a bad pun or something. But it's not bad. It's just kind of like forgettable 70s easy listening type stuff, which it's just a little bit boring, but the lyrics are kind of funny, so I at least enjoyed it for like being laughably bad in the lyric department. The 12th and final track, Winds of Change, sung by Ron the producer and somebody else whose name I didn't write down. And it's kind of it's a nice closing track, I think, because it fits in the overall like chill vibe of the album, but it's not like an extremely memorable song. It's kind of starting to grow on me, and the vocal melody's kind of starting to worm its way into my head a little bit, but it's not one that I could like I couldn't sing along with it right now if I put it on, even though I've listened to it quite a few times. So a decent way to end the album, I think. So yeah, this album, a lot of people hate it. Dennis Wilson didn't like it. I actually got a quote from him over here on Wikipedia.
which he cusses, I'm gonna read it. So if you don't like that sort of thing, you can skip this part. Dennis said about this album, I hope that Karma will fuck up Mike Love's meditation forever. That album is an embarrassment to my life. It should self-destruct.
So pretty harsh words from Dennis. Pointing sideways. But I mean, I have to disagree. I think it's not really a bad album. Like maybe not the most like entertaining, but it it doesn't like move the band's forward any. But I don't know. I just to me at least, I think it's a nice, enjoyable album that I can put on and just have fun listening to. So I like most of it. I could see like it has some weak songs and like I said, hey little tomboy, awful lyrics. But for the most part, the rest of the album, I mean, I like. She's gonna come go with me. Confess. Yeah. I like all of it, but about like 2 or 3 songs. So I can't say that it's a perfect record, but I would definitely give it even a 4 out of 5.